And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
If I were king of the board gaming universe, I would ban these containers. They seem cool, but then you have to store them. What do? There's not special shelves. If you store them this way, they're going to roll off. I mean, they look cool, and they allow you to store a cool cloth board, I suppose, but do I like boxes. But anyway, I digress. Here we have Dragon Face, which, according to the rule book, is set in the future. And kings are using influence. You know, the theme is really, really lame and not necessary. This is a two-player abstract strategy game along the lines of chess, along the lines of checkers. Which one's it closest to? Well, let's look at the pieces and see.
The game unrolls from the tube, and inside there we have a really nice cloth board with sticks at the end of it. It rolls up really well. To get it back together, you have to put all the pieces in the bag and then roll that up. So it's not, it's not that difficult to store. The pieces themselves are really nice pieces. Okay, Blue Orange just does fantastic, but they're double-sided pieces and they look fantastic. Alright, so this is the starting setup for the board. You have two areas here on the board. You have the sacrifice zone, which is this dark area around the board, and then you have the territories inside. There's three different pieces. You have governors, ambassadors, and then the emperor. Okay, now it's kind of like chess. If you capture the opponent's emperor, then you win the game. The ambassadors, or the governors, these are the governor pieces. Think of them as pawns. When they move, they can move one space forward. Now, they can move diagonally, so that's unlike a pawn. They can move, if it's one's here, he can go in any direction. However, on their very first turn, when they may move two spaces. Okay, so that's what the ambassador does. Now, that's what the governor does. The ambassador, that piece moves like a queen in chess. It can move as far as you want in any direction, diagonally or vertically or horizontally. The emperor himself can move one space in any direction just like the king in chess. Now, in this game, you capture a piece when you jump over it. So let's say, for example, this piece is here and my ambassador jumps over it. Okay, you are allowed to move like you normally do, but jumping fashion. Ambassadors, however, can only capture diagonally. Again, that's like the pawns in chess. When you jump and capture a piece, however, here that piece flips over and then joins your side. Now there has to be a piece on the other side, so this piece here is eligible to be captured by my ambassador. However, if this piece was directly behind him, obviously I could not jump them both. I could not capture them. And so there is one rule of the game that when you jump over another piece, then that piece cannot be immediately jumped over on the next person's turn. So if it's my turn and I jump over this piece and turn him, and you had a piece there, you may not immediately convert the guy back. Because the game is all about conversion, it's all about ideology. You're supposed to be converting the people to your side using different ways. Now, you're not allowed to normally go into the sacrifice zone, but you may at some point go in there by capturing. That's the only way you're allowed to go into the sacrifice zone. When one of these governors goes into the sacrifice zone, that's it. They're stuck in the sacrifice zone for the rest of the game. When an ambassador goes to the sacrifice zone, again by capturing, so let's say he goes there to capture that piece, they are stuck in the sacrifice zone. However, if one of the governors from their side gets to the opponent's baseline, then that person is allowed to exchange that piece, put them underneath here, put them underneath the ambassador, and then the ambassador is free to move back into the territories again. Now, the rules are kind of ambiguous. They don't say that the emperor is allowed to go into the sacrifice zone. I'm assuming he cannot, because that would kind of break the game. So we'll just assume that the emperor cannot go into the sacrifice zone. And the emperor, he's your most important piece. If your emperor is captured for any reason, then you lose the game. Unlike chess, you don't need to say check. You just capture him. And so that's basically the game. What makes this game interesting is that there's a some number of pieces. You're not, every time you capture your opponent's piece, they lose a piece, but you gain a piece. And there's only 3 pieces to move, so it's not very difficult to remember how each of them is supposed to maneuver.
I'm not sure. The components here are fantastic. Except for the I don't like the circular container, but fantastic components. The idea is interesting. The rules, not very good. They should have shown more diagrams on how to play and capture, and less on the backstory that no one cares about. The gameplay itself, it's interesting, but it's not. I mean, the whole time we're saying you move this piece like chess, and you move this piece like chess, and you capture like checkers, and you move this piece like chess. And it just didn't feel like there was anything unique or interesting here. The game itself is not a bad one per se, and I'm certainly going to hang on to it and for a while and keep testing it out, especially with my Logic tournaments at school, where we play games like this and see what the legs on this are. But for now, I kind of give this one more of a ho-hum than anything else. It wasn't a bad game. I enjoyed playing it, but it didn't really excite me either.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.